Look. If you want to win over a hard boss, a difficult manager, you have to think in terms of manager. You have to think in terms of being a manager. You have to think in terms of being a supervisor. You have to think in terms of what would you do if you were them. What would you do if you were them managing you? That's how I always think whenever I had a difficult boss or manager. Some of them I was able to win over, where they were like, all right, I see you, Eric. You reliable. We got you. And then some of them I wasn't. At the egg roll factory, wasn't able to win her over because even when I did the work, and even though she griped and bet about everything, complained and about everything that I didn't do, I forgot a one on this or this on that, and then I'd be like, but we're already 6 months behind on orders, and you're tripping over me not putting the order in this same day. Like, no matter what, she just wanted to complain, and some things are just going to be that. Some people want to take their problems out on you, and that's just the way it is. It's no matter what. Sometimes you're going to win them over, sometimes you're not. But at the end of the day, even though I didn't win her over, I learned from that situation. And that's what you're going to always have to do in every situation. Learn from it. Learn when dealing with these difficult bosses, difficult managers. Learn from that situation and understanding how you're going to win them over, how you're going to make the situation better, how you're going to make it better, how you're going to make it better, and how are you going to make it better for you next time with your next difficult boss and manager. And I learned from her, even though she complained about all this stuff, this and that, it showed me, hey, the next manager, I'm just going to make sure I keep an eye on the small details. And also the next manager, next position, I'm going to make sure that going in, I'm going to ask certain questions on how they are. Because I asked her how she was, how her teaching skills was, how she was developing people. She answered all the questions. But at the end of the day, if I don't get a good vibe, I won't take the job. Also, at the end of the day, I'll also make sure to keep the manager at a distance. And then, and early in the 30 days, bring any issues that I have up right away and not let it just linger on. Address it, make an HR file, whatever it may be. You know, HR ain't on my side. Hey, address it, and then from there, if it don't get better, I feel, just start applying, and get ready to leave. You know, a lot of things that were lingering on that should have been addressed that I let because I'm like, all right, need this job in this situation, and I was still applying for jobs but couldn't find one. Hey, I just had to realize that, hey, if they don't want to get on the board, they don't want to get on track, and they want to continue to be a difficult manager or whatever I've learned, either they get with the program or I just leave, whatever it may be. But if you're at a position you want to win over the manager because you like your job and you want to promote up your job and do better, or you can always apply to a different department to get away from that manager. If the job is big, if it's not, different ways. One way would be less talking, more listening. Less talking, more listening. Don't talk a lot to your manager, your boss. Let them do a lot of talking, agree, and be like, hey, got you. I will be doing these things. Send them an email to follow up. Be like, hey, I just wanted to follow up that you said these things. I want to make sure I follow up by doing these things. Once they agree, you have a paper trail. Also, another thing to be able to win over a hard boss or hard manager is be willing to do things outside of what's been asked of you. If you want to win them over, take on extra projects, stay late, send emails on the weekends, even if you know you ain't doing no work. Send on the weekends so it shows your dedications. Sometimes with some of these bosses and managers, they act the way they act because they believe a lot of people don't really want to be there at the company. And they tell you if your spot's been backfilled or it's been a spot that, if your spot's been backfilled or somebody was there before you but moved on to a different department, a lot of times these managers will be like, I wonder if this person's going to be like the last person. Only here for a little bit, leave, or they're trying to be in here for a little bit and go to another department. So you have to show them that you want to be there. You have to show them that you're dedicated. And sometimes that may be doing some work on the weekend, showing them that you're sending them stuff, that you're thoroughly invested and wanting to be there, I mean, you're already probably going to do work anyway. Might as well finish it up on the weekend. It could be a simple yes or response or whatever it may be, just to show that you are in it and that you are willing to be in your position and grow more and be better. Third, last but not least, you want to win over a hard manager or boss. What you really need to do is ask them, hey, what do you think? I know I'm new in this position, or I'm in this position, I want to do better. What do you think I need to do better so that I can make sure that I'm making your job easier, or that when people ask, you can be like, hey, I'm proud of you. When you throw that type of question to your boss or supervisor, it makes them sit back and be like, oh, dang, I may not have been thinking about what they needed to do better, but now I need to think about how they want to do better because they're showing me that they want to do better. Because a lot of times some of these managers and bosses, they're not really thinking about what they're doing. They just telling you, you need to do this, because they're going through the full motions of all the people they've been managing, and they feel like sometimes one person runs into another person, when in all actuality, you're like, look, I want to get better. Jane Doe over there may not want to get better, but I want to get better. So when you ask that question to them, it shows, hey, Aaron wants to get better. He asked me that question. Hey, I need to, they'll say, let me get back to you, or they'll think of something on the spot and tell you. And then you pretend to write it down, or you write it down, preferably write it down. Then be like, all right, cool. And then send an email following up, like, hey, I want to work on this so that, when we have a review, you can say I'm doing better. When it's times right for me to move up for a promotion or get paid more, you can always be like, look, he's did everything I asked him, and this is why he needs it, So now it shows them that you are dedicated, that you do want to be there, that you actually care about the position. Because so many times, some of these managers deal with people who are just mercenaries. And you know what a mercenary is? That means they're a hired person for work, meaning that they're only there for the check. They're not going to be there for however long with the check. And if somebody comes waving along a check better, they gone, like a mercenary. A mercenary is there for how many work you need them because you're paying them. But if someone pays them higher, he is gone. He is gone, or she is gone. So you got to show them that, hey, I'm here. I want to do better. I want to be better. And that's how you're going to be able to win over a manager or boss. Another way you're going to be able to win over a manager or boss is make sure you schedule one-on-one time. Sometimes some of these managers and bosses won't do that. When I was working at the egg roll factory, after my 60 days, I got put on supposedly a PIP plan, which was a whole bunch of BS all from the general. Because let me tell you, the PIP plan says I need to meet with my supervisor once a week and we discuss stuff. When it was time for us to meet, she never showed up. She was never there. When I used to call her and be like, hey, we're going to meet, she would always give me excuses. And then nothing ever happened. But then all of a sudden, she felt compelled at the next one to be like, well, he's not doing it. Like, we had a one-on-one, but you're not doing anything. You're not showing me anything. And that's how I knew that they really didn't want me there. They wanted me out the door, and I was just on borrowed time. Because if you're on a PIP plan, you're supposed to be meeting once a week, doing all this stuff. But we could have avoided this PIP plan if we had been meeting once a week before, and we were just discussing what the goals are, what needed to be done, how to improve, and all those things. But me personally, I didn't really care to be there, because after she started showing her true colors about how she was as a supervisor, it let me know that, hey, this is not where I need to be. So I didn't care to go out of my way to schedule one-on-one time. But the positions that I do care, I do make sure to schedule one-on-one time. The position I'm at now, I do have one-on-ones with that guy I report to, and it's great. He's a great boss, you know what I'm saying, great supervisor. Definitely hears my ideas, and I make sure that we do have those type of times to talk about different things. And that's the difference. When they tell you the grass ain't always green on the other side, sometimes it ain't, sometimes it is. And when it is, it's freaking great. And I've experienced the grass being greener now where I am than how it was before. Before I was at the egg roll company, it was horrible. Horrible. And I didn't care to schedule one-on-ones. Now where I am now, I have one-on-ones and they're great. We throw ideas around. You tell me things I need to improve on, and we get to that goal. And that's how you want to be. If you want to be able to look at your position, your job, and be like, do I see myself moving up? Do I want to move up? If you like your job and you want to move up, schedule that one-on-one with that difficult manager or boss that you have, so that you can get into their psyche, so they can see that you want to be there, so you can start developing a relationship with them, and they can start hearing your ideas and all these everything, so they can go from being a difficult, hard boss to being a boss that's like, okay, I see them. They think about the position. They want to grow. They want to do this. They have ideas. And then they start getting on your side so they can start maturing and they can start developing you so that you can end up being better at your position or moving up in the company to other positions. So those are the type of things that you have to do when dealing with a difficult manager, a difficult boss, because when you care, it hurts even more, because you're like, look, stop being so difficult because I really want to be here. When you don't care, like I didn't care when I was at the egg roll factory, I didn't care at all. I was like, man, I'm just on borrowed time. I'm here for a short time, not a long time. And because I was here for a short time, I didn't care to go on my way to schedule one-on-ones with her. I didn't care to even talk to her if I didn't have to. I was happy when she was back in Arkansas. She was mad annoying and mad nothing. Every week it was, we got to get these orders. But we're not bringing no new orders in. All we're doing is being sufficient. We're keeping up with the same orders that we're doing. We're not bringing in no new business. When new business came, you always had excuses as to why But they brought you in, and you were supposed to bring in new orders. But when I had ideas about this and that, shot down, went ignored, or whatever. And I knew that. I was like, man, I don't really care to be here. She ain't trying to get better. She just want to go through the motions, keep her job, and say she wants to get better. You know, someone that hires you to do sales but don't want to help, don't want to delegate, but wants to constantly micromanage, they're not trying to do better. They're just trying to maintain because they, one, don't know what they're doing. Two, don't know how to be a manager. Definitely don't know how to be don't know how to be your boss. And three, they just going through the motions because they're over their head. And that's what she was. She was over her head being my supervisor because she's never really managed people. Didn't know how to manage people. Two, didn't know how to teach. Didn't know how to develop. Didn't know how to shout, throw stuff all over the place. And three, never really good with feedback in the sense of I'm explaining to her what I needed, but she just kept keeping everything to herself. And that's why a lot of managers and bosses are. They're so busy micromanaging, or they're so busy doing everything themselves that when you come in, you're doing a great job, they have problems taking the reins off stuff and letting you lead it. And because because they're having difficulty taking their hands or their reins off something and letting you lead it, it makes it a very difficult for you because now you're like, hey, I can't do this, but then you're going back and telling me that I'm not doing this, but you're not giving me the opportunity to do this, and then I got to beg you to try to do this or learn this. So then at some point you're just like, man, I'm getting tired of this crap. I can go somewhere else and I have to deal with all this mess. Y'all ain't even paying me enough. And that's how she was when I worked at the egg roll company. One of the, and out of all the bosses I've had, probably top 5, one of the worst. Her, the other girl from the other company, one of the probably top 5 worst bosses ever. And I've had a lot of jobs. I've literally worked at A&W. That boss was whack, but she wasn't as worse as they were. They were worse than her, and I worked at A&W making burgers. What does that tell you? So, with that being said, the way to win over a hard manager or boss, like I said before, show them that you want to be there. Show them that you want to put in extra work on the weekends. Take on extra projects. Take on extra projects. Do extra assignments. Ask for extra work. And last but not least, go to them directly and ask them, what can I do to be better at this position? What can I do to make your life easier? What can I do so that I'm putting myself in a position that I can grow in this company? Don't hide your intentions of wanting to grow and wanting to be better. You know what I'm saying? Because then it shows you you're not there for a short term. You're there for a long time. You're not there for a short time. You're there for a long time. So these are the different ways that you're able to deal with a difficult manager, a difficult boss. Less talking, more listening. Ask them how you can be better at your position. And last but not least, take on more work and take on more responsibility. There's always more work and more stuff that you could volunteer for. Trust me, there's always going to be there. And also, don't forget to always have a positive attitude. Don't bring your personal problems to the job. Nobody wants to hear it. It only makes you feel like you ain't got your stuff together at home, especially if you're new to the job. If you've been there a long time, then it may be different. You can kind of speak candidly. So just remember that. So remember, you got to be intentional. You got to be meticulous. You got to be intentional what you want, how you're going to get there, how you're going to grow it, how you're going to maintain it. You got to be meticulous. How you going to break it down, how you going to keep it, how you going to share it. And last but not least, keep living your life. Because if you don't, your life is not going to live you.